Now, it's remarkable when I was reflecting on your career coming over that you would have played with your dad on many occasions in the same team. When you look back, that must be one hell of a highlight to have played with him.
Yeah, probably the greatest highlight for me was to play with my father. Dad and I, we played in the thirds together.
Mm-hmm.
We played in the fourths together.
Mm-hmm.
We played in 2 losing grand finals together.
Mm-hmm.
I also played in the seconds with my uncle.
Yep.
He captained me one season.
Yep.
That was later on. And then I also played with my brother, Pete. So Dad and I, we opened the batting in the fourths one season. Remember we put on 70 odd for the first wicket in one game. That was probably our best time together batting. I played in the, if I can go back a bit, when I played in the grand final in 79-80 with Dad. We were very unfortunate. We'd played Yulden Parkville and beaten them twice during the season. We were beaten in the second innings by Yulden Parkville. They passed us in the first innings, but we had another go at them and they passed us with 8 down in the second innings. So that was unfortunate. Once again, we had a really good team. We had Dale Carpenter, Billy Muir, Paul Jones, Steve Hillam, Dennis Davey. So we were a pretty good unit, and so we were stiff. And then probably my biggest regret and Dad's biggest regret is we played in the fourth grand final, and we played Melton in the semi-final, and we were about 5 for 25 or something like that. And I went into bat with Jeff King. Jeff and I put on about 160 for the sixth wicket. Jeff got 80 odd, I got 70, and then my brother came in and made a quick 35, and we had over 200 for Melton to make the following day, which they didn't, and we played Werribee in the grand final. What had happened that season was we dropped the last game, and we dropped from first to second, and so we had to beat Werribee. So we played Werribee out at Avondale Heights, and we made about 160. And it was back in the day, it was a 3-day game. At the end of the second day, we had Werribee 8 for 88. The following week, it rained all week, and it rained all day Saturday. The Saturday, we were trying to mop it up and try and get a game in, get those 2 wickets. So that was hard. Big disappointment because it was Dad, Peter, and I all on the same team. Yeah.
Speaking of the 3 of you playing, did Dave ever join you so that the 4 of you?
No, we didn't do the Danaher's.
No?
No, David, I'm pretty sure there were times when David, Peter and I played together.
Yeah.
A number of times. But there was never a time that I can think of that all 4 of us played. But Peter and I, we played mainly thirds and fourths. We did play a couple of games in the seconds later on. I went back and I think I played 2 games under Wayne Robinson in late 80s. But predominantly I was thirds and fourths from then on.
Yeah. Playing with Pete, that must have been fantastic. With your younger brother, 6 years younger.
Yes. It was always interesting playing cricket with Peter. We're probably both a bit different. Peter, I remember, in fact, I think Steve Hill mentioned it at Peter's 21st. Peter had a bit more to say than I did out on the ground.
Yeah.
And there was one day I was bowling, and Peter's come up to me, give me a few words of advice, and I told him to get back to his position, and he came back and would have given me some more advice. Next thing you know, I think Steve wondered what the hell was going on. There's two brothers on the same team pushing each other in the middle of the pitch. But Pete played it hard. Yeah. He didn't let go. He was a very good cricketer in his own right. He was an outfielder, whereas I spent most of my time in slips or the gully. So he was very good. He was very good in the outfield.
Was he the best bowler amongst the four of you?
Not having seen my grandfather. Pete was a handy medium. I thought he was a very handy medium, and he liked to come in and play that swashbuckling innings. I know he got a couple of hundreds in the thirds. David can't bowl. Well, I mean, he might think he can. I mean, a lot of people say I can't bowl, so I couldn't bowl, so they just used me as batting practice in the nets. Peter was definitely the best bowler, not having seen my grandfather, but he was the pick of the all round, as an all rounder. Dad bowled mediums and a few leggies later on in life, but predominantly a batsman. Yeah. So Pete was. I've watched a few games at times where as a member of the crowd watching Pete, and sometimes was thinking Pete, but that's just the way he was. Yeah.
Andrew, you're a life member of the club. When were you appointed life member?
I should check it. 1990, 91. Yeah. The same year as Steve Jobling was the other. Steve Jobling received his life membership that year as well. So, and it was presented to me. It was actually presented to me by my grandfather.
Wow.
The committee invited him along to present that to me. So that was
sensational.
It was an honour.
Yes. So Stan, Richard, David, yourself. Did Pete get life membership?
Yes. He did. So Arena.
And Arena, of course.
So there's six of us.
Yes.
But you take a lot of beating to beat the Duggans.
Yes, that's right. They got you covered.
They got us covered. So there's Harold and Isabel and Gail.
Yeah.
Billy, Brian. Another great family.
Yeah. Are there any coming through?
No.
No?
My son played a couple of seasons at Surrey Hills in the juniors, but William's basically been, he's a basketballer and football. Mind you, as you might see across there, I just bought him a new set of irons, so he and I are both members of Box Hill Golf Club.
Right.
And our aim is to start getting more regular games in now that we've joined. Yeah. So.
Well, life membership is a wonderful recognition because you also spent a lot of time on and off over the years on committee.
I had a short period of time on the committee. Back in the early 80s, I had some time with a social committee. We organised a number of functions back then. I can't remember who was on the social committee with me back then. It may have been somebody like Phil Matthews. I'm not sure if Phil was one of those characters. There were a few people that I worked with on social committee. I did have a couple of years there with Dad, Dave Robinson, Gus on the committee, H. But my time, I really didn't have enough time to do that.
Over your almost 50-year association with the club, you would have seen some unbelievable characters, some unbelievable players. Just talk us through a couple of those.
Players. Well, as a kid growing up back in the 70s, I mean, you can't not mention Eddie. I had the chance to play with Eddie in the seconds. He was a special talent. Back when he first came down, he was quite a capable batsman as well. Quite a capable batsman. Came from Heidelberg, and I know, having my son being at Marcelin, if you go in, ever get the chance to go in and have a look at their honour boards, his name's up there.
Yes.
He took numerous amount of wickets playing for Marsland, and I think was a pretty fair footballer as well.
He was. I think he
might have been captain of the football team as well that one year in Marsland. So he's an excellent member of the club. He was loved by everybody. I mean, even when we had the night when he took his 500th sub-district wicket, there was a big night we had at the club, and Eddie. I think one of the guest speakers was might have been McGinty or somebody from Brunswick was on the table. So they all held him in high regard. Yeah. Dale Carpenter, I think, is a character. Played a few games with Dale.
Yep.
Dale probably he gave as good as he got, but I did see a couple of times. I was fielding at Square League one day, and Brian Robertson was at the Square League, and Chip was bowling, and he was having a bit to say to the batsman, and Brian had a word to me, and Brian said, "Look, Andrew, could you have a word? Just tell Dale to settle down a bit, or I'm going to have to get involved here." But Brian, being Brian, he was a Preston,
quite vicious.
Yeah, but he was enjoying it.
Yeah.
Other people, characters. Look, we had them in all 11s. But I used to always hold Ian Murray in at a high level, because I also knew some of these guys through baseball, because I grew up. Not only in summer was I down at Preston, but in the winter I was down at the baseball club, and Ian was an excellent baseballer as well. He was a fast bowler, handy middle order batsman, and a highly regarded person by many people at Preston. And then you go down to the other, you go down to the lower 11s, and there are always characters in there. Jimmy Maynard was one, always was one of those characters. But I mean, when you think about the great players that Preston's had, even non premiership years, you look at the bowling in the 70s through. I mean, there was you had Dave Jeffrey, Gary Howgate, and Eddie. Then you had Muir, Graham Mitchell, Ron Boxall, just to name a few. We had a lot. And then even when I played, there was one season there we had Ian Chesterton opening the bowling with Albert Grosso. Now, I fielded in the gully that year, and Max was pretty quick for seconds, in the seconds. And then we had guys like Ray Frederick and Paul Jones to come on with the mediums. But I think we had a number of characters, and a vast amount of great players that I should probably have mentioned.
Yeah.
And sorry to them.
Yeah. It's an amazing period Preston have had over the last 60 or 70 years, with great players coming through, and legends of the club you would have seen. Now, you're also an accountant, had a long career at Melbourne University.
Correct.
And recently in retirement. And how are you enjoying retirement?
It's actually been quite difficult, I have to say. So much so that I've started to have a look around.
Okay. Yeah.
So my position was made redundant 2 years ago, and I've had a couple of years off to just renovate the house and do a few things. And during COVID, you can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
So I've been sitting here thinking, what am I doing? So I'm looking at doing something for the next 3 or 4 years. And yeah.
And you've recently retired after a long stint as president of the White Horse Junior Footy Club.
That's correct.
How long were you involved with them?
Okay, I was involved with the White Horse Colts Junior Football Club, who are part of the YJFL, Yarra Junior Football League, and I've been involved with my son from Auskick through to the Colts. I think I was team manager 5 years in a row, but then I joined the committee. And for the last 4 years I've been president of the junior club and netball club. We've got 13 teams. We've got a women's team playing the EFNL, and we have 9 netball teams. So that's kept me busy, and it's not working has enabled me to spend 20 or so hours a week on that. Right. We have our AGM tonight, and I'm handing over. And I can tell you right now, I think junior clubs take your time, because it's not just the council and the league, but it's the parents. Yes, you've got to deal with the parents. That's right. It's a tough gig. it's and every Sunday you're there. Every Sunday from 7:30 till 5. So that's where the golf's going to come back in. Fantastic. And back into the 1860 club, I managed to talk you into coming in just to do one task, but we've now got you involved in a multitude of things. So thank you very much for that. How did you find the 1860 club last year? The couple of functions we had. Yeah, I really enjoyed in both nights. The first one in particular, because I mean I. Sitting at the table there with Albert, Scott and Steve Harvey. I think Killer sat with us one night, but it was really quite enjoyable to go round and even see, just see Ian Baggett and Bob Morgan and Graham, yourself.
Neville
Air was there the first night. Now, I grew up with Neville because he and Dad, my father, were very close. They played a lot of baseball together. They played in premierships together, and Neville is a special person. I think Neville might have turned 81 just recently. Yes, he did. So yeah, he and his wife Liz, we knew a lot of them, and so I have a lot of memories. I mean, you asked me before, I did miss someone that meant a lot to our family, and that was Cole. Cole Miller was a very close confidant of Dad. Dad looked up to Cole greatly.
Wonderful person.
Yeah, and Dad did the eulogy for Cole. So yeah, there was a lot there between our family and the Millers. We used to go down to Cole's place down at Rosebud or Dramana every summer. Hop in the car and Dad would drive down for the day. So yeah, an excellent person.
Andrew, we're just about out of time, but although you're a member of a legendary family in the club, you've made your own mark. You're a very special person. Been with the club 50 years. It's remarkable what you've done. You're a great bloke, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Lee. Thanks very much, everyone.
Good on you.